We are live. We are live. Welcome to college football's peek around the corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do us well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends. Do not forget to ring the notification bell because nobody knows, including myself, when we are going to come on live next. We could be coming on late tonight. Buckle up, brace for impact. Ring that notification bell. If you want to support this independent, national, college football's rebel outpost with a donation, help us keep the lights on and grow the channel, just hit that $sign where you make your comment, and I will get you super chat as quick as I possibly can. I do want to thank all the support that I have received on the donations and everything, keeping the show going. We're doing it every day. We do not do, we don't have, what do you call that? We don't have those those advertisers. We have had we have more than a few opportunities to bring on a gambling affiliation and a few other things, but we have decided to keep this show completely independent, only answering to you, the PATC Einsteins. So the little general and I are very humbled for all of your support. But in the meantime, come on in. Come on into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to become a legend with your comments and with your phone calls. It is June 2nd, 2026. I was reminded. Thank you, Ad Hoc. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much for those kind words. Appreciate it. I was reminded yesterday, last evening, after we did our live show, that yesterday was June 1st. June 1st, and remember, if you were going to join another conference coming out of the ACC, you had to file your notice of withdrawal on or before June 1st of 2026 to join the conference in July 1st of 2027. I was reminded by the great Justin Lucas, North Carolina State Wolfpack genius out there. Very humbled that he's part of the PATC community. Very smart guy. I had a few other people say, hey, Greg, hey, why aren't you talking about this? I got to be honest with you. We haven't talked about the June 1st notice of withdrawal 2000. We haven't talked about it at all. Not at all. We did not have a countdown clock. The reason why is because nothing is imminent. As we have said basically on every live show. Nothing is imminent. There was nothing that I could even... Completely the opposite. We've got all these planes that are flying around at PATC Airport. They're going to land, they're going to crash. Some of them have... The Score Act plane has crashed. The college football plane. It is smoking up there. Because remember, we got to have that thing. There has to be some final decision on what the playoff format is going to look like beyond the 12-team playoff. Because we're not sticking at 12. I mean, we are sticking at 12, but we're not sticking at 12. You understand what I'm saying? So when we figure out what that actually... There's too many planes in the air. So there was absolutely no reason. It wasn't part of the chatter. Nobody was going to file the notice of withdrawal. The Big Ten and the SCC are not anywhere close to making any kind of move. We don't believe the Big 12 is close to making any kind of move, although there's interest in a few schools outside of the ACC. We don't think there's any interest of the ACC anywhere. Maybe a little bit of Utah. No, I did not mean that. I was just saying that to get you guys. No, that's not happening. But what I'm saying is, there was nothing to talk about. So, there it is. June 1st has come and gone. So, on or before June 1st of 2027 to join the conference on June 1st of 2028. In other words, ladies and gentlemen, even the original Minnesota moron can figure this out. The ACC, as it's constructed today, June 2nd, 2026, as it's currently constructed, the ACC is going to go on for at least 2 more years. This 2026 football season and the 2027 football season. The question is the football season of 2028. And, well, we'll leave it at that. Larry Andrick, thank you so much. Larry starts us off with a $5 holla super chat. Thank you so much, Mr. Mountaineer. Congratulations on the Mountaineer baseball team. Fantastic. Wow. What a moment. What a moment. Morgantown, West Virginia. My goodness. What a moment. Larry Andrew, congratulations. Thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it so very much. So what are we going to talk about today? So here's the deal, ladies and gentlemen. Here is the deal. We got the Big 12 riding on horseback. We got the ACC riding on horseback. We got the SCC on horseback. We got the Big 10 on horseback. Of course, the Big 12 and the ACC, they're wearing the white hats. They're the good guys. They're just trying to save college sports. The SCC and the Big 10, they got the black hats on. They're trying to save college sports. And Charlie Baker, the NCAA president, says it's a 50-50 coin flip on whether this Cruz and Cantwell bill passes the House and the Senate and signed into law by President Donald Trump. 50-50 coin flip. Do you agree that it's 50-50? Do you think it's that tight? Do you think it could happen? Is it an automatic yes, automatic no? Or does Charlie Baker know that it's 50-50 coin flip? It's the showdown at Capitol Hill. And we are going to do everything we can. I've already communicated to the little general. My plan. Now, some of my plans go up in smoke. First of all, I was going to do an early peek Cloak and Dagger episodes for members only today, but I have to get somebody to say something to me about go ahead and do it. I don't want to burn a bridge, so I'm out. The show is basically done. It is done. But I cannot release it. So I apologize. I apologize to all the members, the family members of PATC. I hope to get that out tonight, probably tomorrow morning. But I gotta get the okay on something that is in that video. So the work is done. It is done, except for that it's not done because I can't release it quite yet. So, first of all, I want to apologize to everybody on that. Second of all, I'm going to do everything I can to come into the studio, start live streaming the Senate hearing tomorrow morning, and I believe that starts at 9 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, 8 o'clock in the morning Central Time, 7 Mountain Time, and 6 on the Pacific. I believe that is the case. 9 o'clock Eastern Time. I am going to try to live stream the hearings. I do not believe I can get in trouble with YouTube because it's a Senate hearing, it's a public, it's fair use, it falls in the Fair Use Act. So I think I'm going to be okay. I think I'm going to, if somebody tomorrow morning can wake up, find the link, and send me the link to the Senate hearing on this, I would very much be very humbled and thank you to do that because you know me, I am the Minnesota moron. I may not be able to find the link. So somebody send me the link. So we're gonna live stream that. You can come on in here. You can make your comments. You can listen in. At some point, I'll go through the super chats, of course. I'll go through the phone calls. At some point, we'll do the phone calls. But mostly, we're going to listen they do take breaks, we're going to react. Nick Saban's going to talk. Pac-12 commissioner is going to talk. A player from Utah Youths are going to talk. Who else? Notre Dame. Of course Notre Dame. Of course Notre Dame fighting Irish. Of course they get up and talk on the first day of the hearings. Nobody in the Big Ten, nobody in the SCC. It's, of course Notre Dame gets the microphone. My gosh. But anyway, Bavak was going to talk. So we're going to cover it. We're going to do all we can to cover it. So hope you join us. I'm guessing people are coming in and out. That's fine. We used to cover the Florida State, Clemson court cases that went on. Evil Badger, we got another super chat. $5 holla. Evil Badger, my nephew didn't get the memo that you don't schedule a wedding during football season. At least it's versus Purdue. So, Evil Badger, got to go to a wedding. Wisconsin versus Purdue. What year was it? It was 2023. It was the year my father was passing away. He passed away in September 2023. At one point, I was scheduled to go to 3 different weddings in the month of September. 3 of them. But I went to one of them because my father and all that stuff happened in September 2023. 3 different weddings. So I understand it, Evil Badger. Your nephew did not get the memo. He's probably a young man, doesn't know what he's doing. He's getting married for God's sake, so of course he does. I did not mean that. I did not mean that. I did not mean that. So congratulations to your nephew, Evil Badger. Just make sure you have your phone with you, and you can be able to stream whatever game you're going to watch. I mean, Wisconsin and Purdue. That game, look, that game is going to be 2 teams well under 500. So I wouldn't worry about Evil Badger. I would not worry about it. But thank you for the $5 holler. I appreciate it. Coos Corner, Evil Badger. My daughter also scheduled her wedding. Probably on I saw that. Congratulations, Coos Corner. Is that the daughter who got the house with her fiance, a boyfriend, or whatever? Or is that a different daughter, Coos Corner? In the fall, in October to be exact. Anyways, congratulations, Coos Corner, on your daughter's house, or coming up marriage, or all the things you've got going on in that beautiful household of yours. Yeah, same one. Congratulations, Coos. Congratulations. She looked very happy. And the man was, and her fiance was happy, but she probably a little nervous because, you know, his soon-to-be father-in-law was looking in on it, and he got nervous. Okay. All right, let's get to it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got quite a few updates. Thank you, Eva Badger. Thank you, Larry Andrick, for starting us off today. We've got an I Do Declare updates like crazy. First of all, Northwestern Bowl eligible. Chris Kinney, I do declare that's going to be a valuation of 3 points. Remember, valuation from 1 to 5. 1, it's most likely to occur. 5, you're really going out on a limb. None of these should be chalk plays. I do declare Northwestern Bowl eligible. We give it a 3-point valuation. Number 73 prediction. Northwestern upsets Penn State. John Grove, 3-point valuation. I did not give it a 4. I did not give it a 5 because this is the home opener of the new football stadium, Northwestern, $900 million, and Northwestern is not having a dollar of debt when it comes to the stadium. It's going to sit 35,000. The people are going to be basically leaning over on the football field. The seats go straight up. It's like a soccer stadium. It's got a little bit of an overhang. It's going to keep the crowd noise in. Penn State, you're going to be favored. You're going to be favored by quite a bit. But I could not give this evaluation a 4 or 5 because the Wildcats of Northwestern could very well pull this upset off. Number 74, Dave B. The BYU Cougars will sweep Notre Dame in Utah. Both. Should have I given this a 5? I think you can make a very strong argument. But I give it a 4 because BYU has got Superman on his team. Bear Bachmeier, I could not give it a 5. BYU is going to be favored against Utah, most likely. Maybe not. But right now, they would be favored. So, we're going to give it a 4-pointer. Number 75, Notre Dame defeats BYU by at least 21 points. The Irishman, Ryan, makes his I do declare statement. We gave that evaluation of 3 points. Notre Dame is probably going to be favored by what? I don't know, 7, 10 in Provo, Utah. I think the world of BYU. I think they're going to make the Big 12 championship game. They're going to be on the cusp of a playoff again. But I think Notre Dame is one of the top 5 teams in the country. Flat out. They are going to be awfully strong, especially if Aeneas Williams can give them the production that they think he can give them. Notre Dame is going to be a very tough out. We gave that evaluation of 3 points. 21 points or higher is not the chalk. So there was a boldness in Ryan's prediction. Number 76. Clemson makes the college football playoff. Mama Duck, Clemson Tiger. We're going to give that evaluation of 3 points. Now, Clemson making the college football playoffs most years in the last decade I would not have booked this in because that would have been the chalk. And we're not accepting chalks. This is an I do declare. There has to be some level of boldness. So, but Clemson is not favored to make the playoffs this year, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I could not give it a 1. I could not give it a 2. I've got at least three ACC teams ahead of Clemson in my way too early prediction. Possibly going to be a 4th before we get into August. So Mama Duck, Clemson Tiger, I'm giving you a 3-point valuation. I do think it's a little bit of a underdog Clemson play to make the college football playoffs. And then number 77 from Frank Pata, the Virginia Tech Hokies defeat Miami in Miami. We're going to give that a 4-pointer. Since I don't know, I cannot see the Hurricanes finishing with 2 losses in the regular season, including the ACC championship, that the Hurricanes finally win. So I'm going to give this evaluation of 4 points. So that is your update on the I Do Declare. We're waiting for prediction number 78, 79, 80 from the PATC Einstein's. All proceeds go to the Special Olympics of Minnesota. All right, we do have another $2 holler super chat we're going to get to here before we get into our main program. We got a lot to talk about. We've got a lot to talk about here at PATC. Marcus Williams. Marcus Williams, I do declare an all Big Ten natty this season. Now, if somebody would declare that a Big Ten team is going to win the national championship, I would have to think about it. But an all Big Ten national championship valuation, probably a 3. Probably a 3. We're going to book that in, Marcus Williams. We're going to book that in. Thank you for your $2 holler. Very much appreciated. We officially got prediction number 78. That is going to be in the books tomorrow. I do appreciate it, Marcus Williams. An all Big Ten national championship game. Marcus Williams, I am number 78. Yes, you are, sir. Yes, you are. Okay. Now, Chris Kenny. Even I don't think Northwestern is beating Penn State, but I love the sentiment. I love the sentiment. Chris Kenny. Greg, did you see the new college football playoff schedule? Yeah, I did, and come on. And again, it's one of those things in which I do not promote enough. One of the features of a 2014 playoffs is you get it going right away. No conference championship games. The next week after the Thanksgiving games is the first round of the playoffs. 8 campus games. The second round is the next following week. Another 8 home campus games. I mean, you get it going. You get it going. The teams that are going to buy in the 2014 playoffs actually will have the advantage because they only have 2 weeks off. They're only missing 1 weekend. This tragedy of a college football playoff format, I love the 12 teams, by the way. It worked. It was great. It happens to be obsolete going forward. But this long period of not even playing football, especially for the teams that have the bye, it's absolutely ridiculous. It takes forever. It takes the advantage out of having the bye. I did see it, Buckeye Greg. I'm not going to have much time to talk about it today, but if somebody wants to call in and talk about it, that would be fine. But thank you. I appreciate it, sir. Very much appreciate it. Okay. We're going to go into the Spotlight series. Before we get into the big story of today, Spotlight series, June 2nd, we go from the Northwestern Wildcats to the Arizona Wildcats. Now, Northwestern, I've got predicted coming in 16th place in the Big Ten. I do have questions about the quarterback, Aiden Childs. Chris Kenny and another Northwestern Wildcat friend of mine basically told me I'm out of my mind. With Griffin Wilde. And Northwestern's got some talent on that team. Robert Fitzgerald is an excellent safety, but whatever. I got him coming in 16th. The Arizona Wildcats, I got them doing better in the Big 12. I do think they're missing one important ingredient. We're going to go through it right now. The Arizona Wildcats, are they going to be a threat in the Big 12? I do think they're going to be a threat. I happen to think they are going to be a threat, starting with their, let's just start with the defensive coordinator, Danny Gonzalez. You see what the Wildcats did last year, Arizona? Very impressive defense, a lot of man-to-man coverage in the secondary, confusing the offenses, a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Arizona's defense was really good last year. Danny Gonzalez, I believe, was the Boyles finalist or semifinalist or whatever. But after that, the quarterback, Noah Fafita, Spectacular Big 12 quarterback. I think he's right up there with Brett Bachmeier. 3,200 yards passing, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 64.3% completion percentage, 147.2 quarterback rating. An excellent quarterback. And he's back for another year. He's come back again for Arizona. As long as he's playing, as long as he's healthy, Arizona's got a shot. Arizona's got a shot to win any football game. Now, Kedrick Viscano, 396 yards rushing, 4.7 average per rush, 9 rushing touchdowns. They're hoping he gets to the next level. He was their short yardage. He was their goal line. He was their red zone running back in that offense. And in that, he was very successful. Very successful at picking up the first downs, 9 rushing touchdowns. But can he become RB number 1 in the Arizona Wildcats offense? Well, they're targeting him to be that. The wide receivers, this is where it gets a little bit sketchy for me. Look, these guys looked pretty good last year. One of them are going to have to elevate to be a wide receiver number 1. McMillan's not coming back. Trey Spivey, good. 23 receptions, 381 yards receiving, 16.6 average reception, 7 receiving touchdowns. The man can stretch the field. Can he elevate his play? Noah Fafidi, Trey Spivey. Possibly. Maybe. He's going to have to. The old man in the wide receiver room for Arizona is Chris Hunter. A dependable receiver. Last couple of years, 27 receptions, 327 yards, 13.8 average reception, 2 receiving touchdowns. But again, and they got some other guys. Is there a superstar in the room? Is there a superstar in the room? I don't know. There's probably going to have to be one. There's probably going to have to emerge a wide receiver number 1 for Noah Fafita, especially when their running back situation, I don't know if they have a true RB1. But they got a really good defense. They got a really good quarterback. And I think they got some really good coaching on that staff. The linebacker, Tay Brown, is the heart and soul of that defense. 38 solo tackles, 93 combination, 8.5 tackle for losses. Tay Brown, the leading linebacker. They got another linebacker that lines up next to them. Arizona got a really good linebacker room. This is the heart of the defense. Good defense. The secondary was excellent last year, but they lost those guys. Arizona, under Danny Gonzalez, as we mentioned earlier, played a lot of man-to-man coverage. Man-to-man coverage. They gambled, and often they won. Are they going to do the same thing this year with a more inexperienced secondary? I do not know. Here is the problem with the Arizona Wildcats. I'm going to show you what the problem is in a moment. Besides not really, at least at this point, you cannot really point to an WR1 on the roster. Now, let me know if I got it wrong. Put it in the chat. Give me a phone call later on. Let me know that I got it wrong, that there is an emerging superstar in the wide receiver room at Arizona. This is why I've got Arizona at number 7 and not at number 6, not at number 5, not at number 4. They're in that batch. Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, TCU. I actually have Houston along with Utah as their own batch. Texas Tech, BYU batch, Utah, Houston batch, Oklahoma State, Kansas State, Arizona, TCU batch. The reason why I have a hard time moving Arizona up higher than coming in 7th is this. This football schedule. The first road game, and it's in the Big 12, and it's going to Provo, Utah, on Fox national television. 2:30 Central Time is the time you're looking at. That's Central Time. I mean, that is a very difficult. That's getting hit in the jaw right away for Arizona. Now they play at home against Cincinnati, on the road at Morgantown, at home against Iowa State, and then they go on the road against the Texas Tech Red Raiders. They're on the road at BYU. They're on the road to Texas Tech. Oh, and by the way, they do have home games, but they're against TCU, Utah, then on the road to Kansas State. This schedule is not conducive, in my opinion, for Arizona to squeeze in at number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6. However, if you are an Arizona Wildcat fan, I can understand why, hey, let's get BYU. We got them early. Let's knock them off early. If we win that game in Provo, Arizona's going to have a pathway to the Big 12 championship game. But man, it happens right away. Arizona, BYU, what a great early game that's going to be in the Big 12 conference. Put down your comments in the comments section below the video. Noah Fafita, Danny Gonzalez, the defensive coordinator. Brett Brennan's got a really good staff. They like their offensive coordinator. Their wide receiver room, going to have to show me more. The running back's going to have to show me more. The secondary is going to be young this year. The linebacker crew is phenomenal. Arizona Wildcats, number 7th in the Big 12. Let me know how wrong I got it once again. But remember, this year is Greg the Cooler. This year it is Greg the Gold, the 2026 Redemption Tour. All right. So that is your spotlight. Arizona was the number 40th. The 40th school we have done out of the 68 Power 4 conference teams. Number 40, Arizona. As we continue on to the spotlight series for tomorrow. What team will it be? Y'all going to have to find out. You're all going to have to subscribe and get yourself notified. Ring that notification bell. Join us tomorrow, and you're going to find out what number 40, the 41st team under the spotlight, who that team is going to be. We're going to find out together. All right. Let's get to the main part of our program here. The showdown at Capitol Hill. Big 12 and ACC, they're wearing the white hats. The SCC and the Big 10, they're wearing the black hats. Charlie Baker says it's a 50-50 coin flip. Let's go through Ross Dellinger's article of today. Real interesting article. There was a few parts of it that were real interesting. And I am very interested to hear what the PATC Einsteins think about it. And I'm really interested to hear what you said. Justin Lucas in the chat. Interesting, Jim Phillips' letter did not explicitly endorse the new bill, like Brett Yormark. Or at least I didn't see it. He say point blank, we support it. Justin Lucas, you're absolutely correct. We are going to go through that. And we're going to have North Carolina State as part of what we're going to talk about. Yes, there is a couple of parts of this that is extremely, extremely interesting. And I would also throw in the phrase cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger, cloak and dagger. Ross Dellinger, the explainer, everything you need to know about the Protect College Sports Act, including whether bill has a chance to pass. Former Alabama coach Nick Saban, Notre Dame Athletic Director Pete Bavacqua, Pac-12 Commissioner Teresa Gould headline a lineup of witnesses testifying in a hearing before the members of the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee on Wednesday morning. Again, here at Peek Around the Corner, we're going to be doing a live stream. If I get a workable link, if somebody can wake me up tomorrow morning, if somebody can take me back, we are going to do this live stream tomorrow, so check us out at PATC. As long as I get a workable link. Perhaps the most significant of the more than a dozen hearings held here since 2020. At the center of what's supposed to be a more than a 2-hour affair is a newly introduced bill from Senator Ted Cruz, Maria Cantwell, intended to reform the college athletics industry. The Protect College Sports Act is the most comprehensive, bipartisan college sports legislation produced during the NCAA 7-year lobbying effort, and it's a bill that many believe has the best chance to pass among those introduced. For instance, in speaking last week to the Big 12 athletic directors, NCAA President Charlie Baker put it at odds of passage at 50-50. According to administrators present for his session, 50-50 coin flip. Wednesday hearing comes only 1 week after the bill's announcement. That is quick. Tentative plans are already being made for the next step in the process, a markup, to come as soon as next week. That is quick. Where committee members make and approve suggestive changes to the legislative language. Awfully quick. From there, if enough support exists, the bill may find itself up for the debate and a vote on the U.S. Senate floor before the lawmakers break for the annual month-long summer recess in August. That is lightning quick. It needs 60 votes in the Senate to pass, meaning 7 Democrats must support the bill, Cantwell co-sponsor Chris Coons, and 5 more before it advances for a similar process in the Republican-led House. As long as you keep all the Republican senators, right? You need 7 Democratic senators as long as you keep all the Republican senators. If you lose a Republican senator, you're going to need 8 Democratic senators. If you lose 2 Republican senators, you're going to need 9 Democratic senators. Okay. But as the college sports stakeholders descend here for Wednesday's hearing, questions over the bill linger and concerns over its language loom. Last week, for instance, leaders of the National Urban League and several college players associations held a call with Cantwell herself. A more than an hour-long session in which many expressed criticism over legislation that may limit athlete movement and decrease compensation. Is anyone happy? Everyone mad is a sign that it has a chance, quipped one college stakeholder with political experience. Everyone having something not to like means it's a good compromise. Does everybody have something they don't like in this bill? That's my first question. I don't know about that. Back to the article. What are the problems? While the bill's concepts targeting the Big Ten and the SCC stole the headlines last week, no more expansion, no Super League style merge, and a path to pool TV rights. First of all, before I go on to the rest of the article, again, Ross Dellinger, look, the perception from the Big Ten and the SCC is that this bill takes the sovereignty away from more expansion of the 2 conferences. I've had a lot of people say, Greg, you're reading it wrong. You're reading it wrong for the very first day that this came out. Well, you know what? If I'm reading it wrong, the whole entire Big Ten is reading it wrong. The legal council is reading it wrong. The Big Ten is reading it wrong. The national reporters are everybody's reading it wrong. I don't think we are. That's what I'm trying to say. Back to the article. There are more serious issues with the legislation, said college stakeholders, many of whom were granted anonymity to speak freely about the bill. And when we get into it, there's one massive problem with this bill, other than what I would consider the sovereignty issue, and that is what really puts fear. Well, we'll get to it. In its letter to lawmakers on Monday, the USOPC points to one of the issues. Protections in the bill for women in Olympic sports are only triggered if enough schools agree to pool their media rights. If you are confused, it's okay. A large piece, basically everything. I mean, it all gets back to this. A large piece of this legislation permits FBS conferences to break antitrust and collision laws by consolidating and selling their media rights. In theory, the consolidation of rights would generate more revenue than is produced by the current piecemeal method, single league selling their rights individually. At least 75% of FBS, or 104 teams, must agree to the provision to trigger the antitrust protection and allow for the pooling of rights. The SEC and the Big Ten and Notre Dame, 35 schools total, can form a voting bloc to prevent such pooling of rights if they do not opt into the concept. And they don't. Right? They don't. But we'll get to it in a moment here. Plenty of concepts. Here is the PATC money shot number 1 of the article. Number 1 of the article. Although 2 and 3 are really impactful. Plenty of the concepts in the bill are triggered only if the rights are pooled, including provision intended to protect women in Olympic sports. The provision requires schools to maintain their scholarship and roster funding if those sports programs, as long as rights are pooled. As currently drafted, the legislation ties minimum scholarships and roster requirements to voluntary participation in the Media Rights Collective, USOPC officials wrote to lawmakers. Without actual guardrails in place, continued budgetary pressures could create uncertainty around long-term rosters and scholarship opportunities for non-revenue sport programs, impacting pathways for current and future Team USA athletes. So, all those protections, so-called protections of women in Olympic sports and funding rosters and keeping scholarships, all of that in the bill only gets triggered if everybody pools their rights together. I'll get back to the article in a moment. So, a lot of this doesn't mean squat. A lot of this, not everything in the bill. There's going to be narrow antitrust protection exemption with eligibility concerns, compensation pay, transfer portal, right? You got all that stuff. You're going to have protections for the NCAA, the schools, to create the rules under this bill if it passes. But the rest of the stuff goes away if not everybody pools their rights together. And of course, the Big Ten and the SEC and Notre Dame, they're not going to move off that. So basically what we're having here is there is going to be enormous pressure, like a beatdown on Capitol Hill, probably starting tomorrow. That why aren't we why aren't we getting all together and doing this stuff so we can save, this is the Cody Campbell plan, as we have said, but it's coming in more, like a feather instead of a hammer. But that feather will eventually turn into a hammer. And the Big Ten and the SCC in Notre Dame knows that. The optional pooling the meteorites together, the optional, it is so close to turning into a mandatory in this bill. It is so close. It is so, even Ted Cruz wants it. It is so close from happening. The old bait and switch at the last moment. That is what the Big Ten and the SCC are most concerned about. Because it's going to be argued that they're the two that are holding up everything. They're the two that are holding up all of happy days are here again for Olympic sports, non-revenue sports, women's sports, all these sports that we love, but they don't pay for themselves. It's the SCC and the Big Ten. If they would only pool their rights together with everybody else in the FBS, we would have enough money for rifle. We would have enough money for rowing. We would have enough money for wrestling. We would have enough money for women's flag football and men's flag football and men's gymnastics and women's beach football. We would have it all if only the Big Ten and the SCC and Notre Dame would come on board. That's what this whole thing is setting up for. A lot of these things in this bill go completely away unless you force the Big Ten and SEC. And that's where we're heading to, in my opinion. Back to the article. The bill grants narrow antitrust protections for the NCAA to enforce the one-time transfer policy. Yes, a 5-year eligibility standard and a codification of the House settlement terms intended to provide stricter enforcement of the athlete revenue share cap, which, by the way, a lot of Democrats are completely against this part of the bill. They don't want these restrictions on the athlete when their voice is not being heard in a collective bargaining. Back to the article. This is a very key difference from the Failed Score Act, which paved the way for the NCAA and conference to establish rules while also granting them the legal protection to enforce those rules. The Protect College Sports Act grants the NCAA protection to enforce the rules written in the legislation. But if those policies need changing, will college administrators need to return to Congress to fight those legislative amendments and gain the approval of both congressional chambers? Yes. At least several college officials believe that's the case, though it's not clear. Let me talk about this for a moment, then we'll get back to the article. That is the brilliant thing about a collective bargaining. There's a deadline to it. After 4 or 5 years, labor and ownership come back to the table, and things are always changing in the landscape of media, of distribution of media, the money, the economics, the rules of the game, the health of the game. There's things changing all the time. Collective bargaining, you're not putting a square peg in a round hole. You're always negotiating for the better good of everybody. That's the theory, and sometimes that actually happens. It's flexible. It can change over time. This is not flexible. That's the problem. We talked about it. We talked about how the House settlement is the only thing we have. So we have to go by the rules. We have to get it codified. It didn't happen. We're not going by the rules. Nobody's following the rules. We can't get it codified. This is going to try to help. But again, you already see these changes that are going. There's already things about the settlement that just don't work anymore. The compensation pay, the $21.5 million, we'll talk about that later in the program, that's already obsolete. Did you, I can show you this graph, but if you took the math on how they figured out that $21.5 million, if you figured that math out, a certain percentage of this bucket of money, this bucket of money, this bucket of money, and this bucket of money from all the athletic departments and all 68 schools, we came out to $21.5 million. If you just did the Southeastern Conference alone and used the same math, that should be $29 million should be the cap. $29 million. The ACC, well below $20 million. The Big 12, $15 million. So in actuality, if people who are fighting for the student athletes' rights here, this House settlement disenfranchised the SCC football players and the Big Ten football players, if you want to go down that road. A lot of people don't want to go down that road. But we're all trying to stick together, right? I'm trying for all of us to stick together. But again, this doesn't work anymore for a couple of particular conferences. So they want to raise to $21.5 million. But they got to go with Kessler. They got to go to Kessler, who's the lawyer of the House of that case, the House case, a swimmer from Arizona State. The Big 12 and the ACC, they also go along and they have to approve it. Everyone's got to be in on it. And that is one reason of a lot of reasons why the SCC is saying it doesn't even work for us anymore. We got to break away because this doesn't work. There's so many different layers to this. There's so many different layers to what's going on. All right. The bill provides a right for players to pursue legal challenges. This is a big one. The bill provides a right for players to pursue legal challenges, private right of action, if they feel as if the NCAA is violating an act. That includes such issues as transfer, eligibility, a concerning notion for some within college athletics who believe this paves a path for continued legal battles. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if the bill provides a right for players to pursue legal challenges, if they feel as if the NCAA is violating the act on the transfer and eligibility, then there really is no, how much of a protection, how much antitrust protection are you getting out of this bill if it passes? Are you giving the NCAA any credibility at all? Because if you're not, why are we passing the bill? But perhaps the most interesting and notable concerns are raised from those outside of college athletics. Leaders from several players' association movements expressed public criticism of a bill that many believe limits athlete movement. It does. And will decrease athletic compensation. It will. In the most sharp criticism, Ramagi Huma, and I apologize if I did not say that name correctly, Executive Director of the National College Players Association, released a statement describing the legislation as a Trojan horse attack on college athletes' rights. An outspoken Democrat, Senator Chris Murphy, said the bill goes too far in protecting college sports leaders and limiting the athletes. But others like Republican Congressman Brett Guthrie and Tim Walberg believe it doesn't go far enough. The bill, they say, should prohibit athletes from being deemed employees, like the SCORE Act did. And it's one of the reasons why the SCORE Act could not get enough traction. Lastly, some within college athletics, and in Congress too, believe the NCAA should not be the entity to possess the antitrust powers. In fact, the legislation creates a committee to study further governance in college sports, a possible outlet for NCAA reform. There's one thing Republicans and Democrats can agree on, one congressman said recently. They both hate the NCAA. Before we go on, I got to talk about this here. They do not want, they're worried about giving the NCAA antitrust powers. Okay, change the name. Take the NCAA sticker off everything. Take it off the building. Don't call it the NCAA tournament. Give it another name. Call it the Flugarian Empire. Call it that. I'm okay with that. It doesn't matter. Whatever the entity is, whatever the governance is, has to have these antitrust powers. Or the Southeastern Conference is going to break away. The Big Ten is going to break. This is what they're searching for. I don't care whatever governing body you have. It's going to be under the Big 12, the ACC, the Big 10, the SCC, Conference USA, the MAC. They're going to have representation in that organization. They're going to be part of it. They're going to fund it. Who's going to fund it? You're literally bickering about the name. Don't be so hung up on the NCAA. That's the boogeyman. The NCAA is us. So, you don't want to give antitrust powers to the NCAA. You want to have a different... Here is the real scary part of this. In fact, the legislation creates a committee to study further governance in college sports. What do you think that means, everybody? A possible outlet for NCAA reform. What do you think that means? Remember, who wrote this bill? Who wrote this bill? Who wrote this bill? Cody Campbell and Smash Sports Capital. Bam, there it is. A study to future governance. This is getting the government foot into the door. Everyone's worried about private equity, the wolf getting into the chicken house, the whatever you call it. This is the government getting in there. The government's going to run it. That's the dream of many out there, along with some big old private capital. That's the dream. This is a big step forward. They don't trust the schools and the conferences to have an organization called the NCAA. You call it whatever you want. You can call it Mohr After Dark. You can call it Rich Austin. You can call it Don Scruggs. You call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter what the name is. It's us that they don't trust, okay? Who are you going to trust? Who are you going to trust besides Ghostbusters? Who are you going to trust? Oh, the government. That's where this is headed. This is all what this is. They're trying to do a jet sweep around the defense. Who likes the bill? On Sunday, commissioners from the Big 12, the ACC, and the Americans sent letters to congressional lawmakers supportive of the legislation. In fact, over the last several days, multiple conference commissioners, university presidents, and board of trustees members signed supportive letters. However, it is clear that most of those are not affiliated with the two richest conferences in the country. Aside from some cautious comments last week from SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey at his league's annual spring meetings, the commissioners of the Big Ten and the SEC have not truly expressed the public position of their conferences. As it turns out, ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, in his letter, and this is what Justin Lucas said in the chat room, did not take an exact position, but expressed continued collaboration with lawmakers as his league reviews the bill. After all, would every ACC program commit to a bill that prevents the SEC or the Big Ten from expanding? PATC money shot number 2 of the article. Many of those schools are seeking such an invitation. 2 of them, Clemson and Florida State, sued the league, which resulted in the creation of a more concrete exit fees. Other letters have been sent to lawmakers too. As it turns out, a separate letter was sent as part of the Cody Campbell Saving College Sports movement. Of the 85 listed signatories, only 4 of them held affiliations and an active leadership role with the SCC of the Big Ten schools. Board members from LSU, Michigan, Penn State, and LSU's president. However, LSU President Wade Rossi told Yahoo Sports that he did not authorize his signature to be included in the letter, a revelation that came hours after the document landed in the Senate staff inboxes. PATC money shot number 3 of the article. The letter included signatures from 15 of the 16 Big 12 presidents and or chancellors, another 4 ACC presidents, and 24 active members of the school board of trustees or regents. All but 3 of those outside of the SEC and the Big Ten. If you're noticing a trend, you'd be right. Ross Dellinger is giving everybody a hint, wink, wink. If you're noticing a trend, you'd be right. We're going to go back to that at the end of the article. There is a divide emerging more than ever, as we have reported to you for the last 6 months at Peek Around the Corner. There is a divide emerging more than ever between those in the Big Ten and the SEC and everyone else, but really the Big 12 and the ACC. The financial gap between those 2 conferences and the ACC and the Big 12 grows by the year, rooted in valuable league television deals, a consolidation of the biggest brands during conference realignment. Estimates project that the 2 leagues would distance themselves by as much as $40 million per school in the coming years. In his brief comments on the bill last week, during annual league meetings, Sankey addressed the bill's language targeting his conference. If someone chooses to write legislation that focuses on us because we've done things so well, I look forward to learning that explanation, he said. Obviously, we're trying to make sure that nobody runs away with the eyeballs or a certain amount of revenue and hijacks the rest of the system, leaving it shortchanged, Cantwell told Yahoo Sports last week. A clear nod toward the SEC and Big Ten growing revenue gap. Said one Senate aide on the bill's intent as it relates to the 2 conferences, the success of the SEC and the Big Ten has created an incredibly uneven playing field for everyone else. Are battle lines being drawn? Does the bill need the SEC and the Big Ten support to pass? There is one key person that seems to be in favor of the legislation, the President of the United States. And finally, in the article, in response to a request for comment from Yahoo Sports, the White House official said President Trump has been relentless in his effort to protect and preserve college sports. He has called upon Congress many times to advance legislation that delivers meaningful permanent reforms. The White House is reviewing the proposed bipartisanship legislation, but it appears that the legislation is moving in the conversation on these important issues moving forward. There is a lot that we could focus on. But I'm going to focus on one particular item in this article. You all can give me a phone call. Let me know what part you want to focus on. But I'm going to show you what I'm focusing on here in just a moment. We got a $5 holler from Mohr After Dark, Mr. Buckeye. Mohr After Dark. Greg is so cold that the day after tomorrow is considered his biopic. Unbelievable. Let me ask Mohr a question. What are you going to do? What are you going to do when the Flugarian Empire runs wild on you? What are you going to do when I go 2-0 in week 0? When I go something like 11-2 in week 1? You're going to have to come back on this program and have super chats. It doesn't have to be super chats. It can be comments. Greg is so hot that he could melt whatever. I can't even think of it. But whatever you come up with, Mohr, you're going to have to come back and do that. Because this year it is Greg the Gold 2026 Redemption Tour. Thank you very much, Mohr. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much. Here's the part that I want to focus on. In this article. As it turns out, the ACC Commissioner Jim Phillips, in his letter, did not take an exact position, but expressed continued collaboration with lawmakers as his league reviews the bill. After all, would every ACC program commit to a bill that prevents the SCC or the Big Ten from expanding? Many of those schools are seeking such an invitation. 2 of them, Clemson and Florida State, sued the league, which resulted in the creation of more concrete exit fees. Ladies and gentlemen, as we have been reporting to you for months, nothing is imminent. Nothing is imminent. It's why we do not even pay attention to the June 1st, 2026 notice of withdrawal. Because it was not a story. Just like last year, we did not pay attention to it. There was no chatter. There was no cloak and dagger. There was nothing. We didn't even talk about it, that possibility. We have said that. But we have also said here at Peek Around the Corner that there is a lot of positioning going on. There is a lot of talking going on. It has not stopped.
Call from
Morris.
Yeah, Morris, can you call me back later? I wasn't supposed to have the phone line open yet. Morris? Hello? Hello? Morris? Oh, I lost him. Yeah, I should not have had the phone off the hook. The phone's off the hook. I'm not done with the monologue yet. Even though we've been going on for a long time, I apologize. Bear with me. Bear with me. We're going to open up the phone line. Sorry about that, Morris. Phone lines are not supposed to be open. As we have said, there is a lot of talks going on. There is. There's a lot of NDAs that are being thrown around. There's a lot of information that is embargoed. We've been able to provide some of what we know to you all. There's a lot, of course, we do not know. And if we learn it and if we get an opportunity to tell you and report it, we will here at Peek Around the Corner. But there is a lot of stuff going on. There are schools in the ACC that think they've got a shot. Some of them are being really aggressive. They want to get to the SCC. They want to get to the Big Ten. There are factions within the ACC, factions about almost in every school, that even want to still talk about this separation of 6 to 8 to 10 ACC schools and have their own football conference, a one-sport football conference that was negotiated in the settlement with ACC. But mostly, there are schools that have been working, not negotiating, but working, talking, discussing on how they could create value to the Southeastern Conference and the Big Ten. We have given you the names of those schools. We've talked about the schools. We've gone in the Holy Smokes Theater. We believe there are different tiers to this. We believe North Carolina and Notre Dame are at the center of the stage. We've got certain schools going from the Big Ten, SEC that are candidates. Most of them are ACC schools. There's a couple, Kansas and Utah. We do not have them in the top tiers, but they're somewhere near the bottom, but they're on the candidate list. There are some ACC schools that are kind of a little bit behind others. In our opinion, what we've been told over and over and over again. Let me show you guys the list of ACC schools who have not signed the letter of support for saving college sports, as far as we know. The ACC schools not signed letter of support for SCS Saving College Sports Bill. Pittsburgh, Stanford, Miami, Virginia, California, Duke, Notre Dame, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson, North Carolina State, Notre Dame. There are huge parts of this bill that Notre Dame would absolutely support. They do not want. Pavakwa has come out and said no to forcing Notre Dame to pool their rights, media rights, with everybody else. Notre Dame is completely against that. That's why they have not signed on the bill. Before we talk about these schools that have not signed letter of support for SCS, let's talk about a couple of schools that are not on this list. One of them being North Carolina. There is a North Carolina chairman of the board who has signed this letter of support. I can only describe the following to you as allegedly. First of all, it doesn't really matter if North Carolina signed. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because the chairman of the Board of Regents at Chapel Hill, when it comes to any of this stuff, when it even comes to conference affiliation, has no power. But he did send a signal in signing this bill, support of this bill. The following is allegedly. This gentleman, we've talked about this gentleman before. If you look at the name on who signed the letter of support for this name, and this is all allegedly, because I don't want to, the man that signed that letter of support is Malcolm Turner. We've talked about Malcolm Turner years ago on this channel. Malcolm Turner was the man, and there was another guy at the Board of Regents. I want to say his name is Perkins. I don't think that might be correct. But Malcolm Turner, I know, is correct. This is the guy who supported Kevin Gusowich. That rock fight went on for years at Chapel Hill, and Malcolm Turner had Kevin Gusowich's back, even at the very end. We talked about it. If you don't believe me, Google it, whatever you need to do. Malcolm Turner was one of the people on Kevin Gusowich's side, and you saw what happened to Kevin Gusowich. So, allegedly, I don't think Malcolm Turner really, even him getting onto the board was an incredible fight. It was because he is a part of DraftKings. This was back in 2020, 2021. There's a lot to the story. All I'm saying is Malcolm Turner, he signed his name on there, and I'm guessing he does not represent the majority. I think if you took it up to a vote, and that vote would not matter either, I don't think the majority of the Board of Regents would have. Malcolm Turner is an island unto his own right now at North Carolina, or he's in the minority. So I don't think his name means a whole heck of a lot. He means a whole heck of a lot, but I don't think it. I think people are probably taking it too much. There are other schools that are not on this list that I believe are on the Big Ten candidate list. There's Utah and Kansas. The president of Utah, representative of Kansas, signed on this bill. And I would say, and I would just offer this as an explanation. I don't believe this. If you sign this letter of support, and if you're a leadership, it doesn't mean you eliminate your school as a chance to get an SCC or Big Ten invite. I do think things are a lot different in the Big 12 than in the ACC. A lot. The Big 12 just signed the Ultra Capital. The Big 12, they're trying to keep there is, especially Utah, that has been the president, the athletic director getting in trouble. There's a sense that they're going to toe the party line. Same with Kansas, by the way. So I don't think their signature on this letter of support, again, take it however you want it. But there's a lot of ACC schools that did not sign, and I don't think they're going to sign. Now, some of these schools, people are wondering, why do they even think they got a shot? Why do they even think, what are they, like Pittsburgh, for example? Well, we've talked about Pittsburgh. Again, they're not in our Holy Smokes theater. They're not in our top tier, second tier, third tier, fourth. But Pittsburgh is always on the Big Ten candidate list. And I've said this to you before. It's a shocker. But if you could go into the Big 12 office, if you go to Rosemont, Illinois, and if you could put truth serum into Tony Petitti and other people in leadership of the Big Ten, and you would ask them, what school do you think the SCC would go into and take in Big Ten country? Not a Big Ten school, but go into a Big Ten state. What? Because the Big Ten, if they go into the Southeastern Conference and take a Miami, you're taking a school out of a Southeastern Conference state, Florida. If you go and take Georgia Tech, you're taking a school out of the state of Georgia, SEC state. You know, what school would the SEC take that is in a Big Ten state? And the answer is Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh would be the school that the SEC would go and encroach into Big Ten country. They would want to get in the state of Pennsylvania. They wouldn't be able to get in Ohio. There's no candidate. Iowa State, again, the answer seems to be Pittsburgh. We've been told this over and over and over again. Another reason why Pittsburgh is on the Big Ten candidate list, and we've been told this, is that Penn State has never eliminated them off the list. Penn State doesn't seem to look at Pittsburgh the same way a lot of us would, saying that Penn State would definitely no. That's not how Penn State looks at the situation. So, Pittsburgh is on the list. Stanford, Miami, of course, you know, you can understand, if you want to take them signing it as a serious indication, then of course Miami not signing. Virginia, California, Duke's, Duke is doing all that they can. Notre Dame, we talked about it. They do not want to. They're not going to pull their media rights. I don't know. You're not going to get Notre Dame on board with this, with that part of it in the bill. Florida State, they went to the courts. They risked. Florida State took on. Florida State and Clemson both. It cost them. It cost them money. It cost them a little bit of some relationships, especially Florida State. Why? They risked a lot. Why in the hell would they be for this bill? There's no way they're going to be for this bill. None. No chance. Now, the bill might pass, right? Even though Florida State, even though there's a lot of people against it, there's a lot of people for it. But of course, Florida State, Georgia Tech, Clemson. And again, North Carolina State is, I don't even think it matters. If North Carolina State wasn't, if somebody at North Carolina State did sign it, I don't think it would matter because they don't really have the power. Virginia Tech president signed it, Timothy Sands, but again, he's not going to be the president anymore. So his signature doesn't mean anything. So, anyways, those are the schools that had no leadership at this point. Had no signatures in support. No way the SCC takes Pittsburgh. I don't think there's much of a chance either. But if you go through the exercise of what school would the SCC take that is in Big Ten country, it seems to be Pittsburgh is the answer. But no, we're not saying that SCC is going to take Pittsburgh. I know that's going to be reported by a bunch of morons out there, but I don't care. Well, Notre Dame, that's not even... okay, Jimmy, well, they're not going to get Notre Dame in. Notre Dame's not going to be an SCC member. Yes, they would take Notre Dame, but that's not even on the board. But you're correct. You are correct, Jimmy. You are correct. Again, hopefully people understand what I said about Pittsburgh. But Pittsburgh is probably a long shot to even get a Big 12 invite. That could be. But that's coming from a Mountaineer. All right, let me first, before we get to phone calls, let me make sure. Larry, thank you, Larry, Eva Badger, Marcus William, Mohr After Dark, for your generosity. I very much appreciate it. Let's get to the phone calls. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Give us a phone call. Let me know. Again, there is news out there of a large gift to Maryland Athletics and the Virginia Tech Athletics. Check in here. Phone lines are now open. 763-260-1333. Again, if you make a phone call, the floor is yours. You can talk about anything in college football that your heart desires. Super chat. You can talk about anything that your heart desires, and we will cover it here at Peek Around the Corner. Other comments we'll pick and choose depending on how relative it is to what we're talking about, how interesting it is, how creative it is, and all of that good stuff. We've got a super chat from the Sooner Sun Devil. The Sooner Sun Devil, Cope.
From
Mohr Simmons.
Mohr Simmons. Can you hold on for just 1 second, sir?
Yes.
I do appreciate it. And I apologize for earlier, Morris. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Okay.
No problem.
Sooners, Sun Devil, Cope. Silo mode works well in a 24-team SCC and Big Ten and allowing 11 in-conference games, 7 division, 2 each from 2 pods, 3 pods from 8 of 8. Just thinking. Well, that is a lot of math for the original Minnesota moron, Cope. 24-team. You're talking about a 24-team playoffs with just those 2 conferences. Oh, 11 in conference games, 7 in division. I don't like divisions. 2 each from the. All right, Cope, I know you're just thinking out there. If you want to put some more comments, it doesn't have to be super chat, but to clear that up, I don't quite understand what you're meaning. I don't know if you're talking about an SCC Big Ten only playoffs. 11 non-conference, 11 conference games for both conferences. I think that's what you mean. 7 in a division. I think you're trying to put the SCC in big. Oh, you're talking 24 team conferences, SCC and Big Ten, with 11 conference games. 7 in a division. I don't know. Cope, I can't figure it out. Cope, I'm not smart enough. Thank you for the $20 holler, but I do appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Morris Simmons, the floor is yours. Thank you for your patience.
Yes, Greg. The reason why I called in, but you had touched on it in your monologue there when you had the list of the ACC schools, but I was going to call in because I was going to say, well, the ACC commissioner, he's kind of tied up because they signed an agreement with Florida State and Clemson in a settlement for these schools to be able to move to get out. So, but if you're going to go against, in other words, if you sign on this list and you go with the Cody plan, then you're basically going against what you settled for. So It would be, I would think it would be like a conflict there. So I wouldn't expect, and then not knowing that all these other schools did not sign on, haven't signed yet in the ACC. There's no way the commissioner going to go out here on the limb and sign something when half of your conference more than half of your conference haven't signed on this. So that just tell you right there, this Cody plan is in deep trouble. If you think that these schools going to sign off and lock themselves on a sinking ship, that ain't going to happen.
Now, but I get what you're saying, but let's, and I see comments in the chat room as well. Let's be clear about this. These schools do not have a vote on whether this passes or not. They can influence, they can call in their representatives, but they do not have a vote. The conferences do not have a vote. This is a Senate vote. Mm-hmm. This is a House vote. This is a signature from the president. Mm-hmm. So therefore, it doesn't really matter what the commissioners. I mean, what they're trying to do is they're trying to show how supportive this bill is. Like, we throw a bunch of names on there, bunch of votes, bunch of people supporting it, but it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm about to say. The names don't matter.
Yeah.
Now, my next question, because I think somebody touched on this on the last show, which is, if the Big Ten and the SEC just say, okay, forget everything, let's go silo in. If they go in the silo, what can be done to reverse the Big Ten or the SEC and bring them back out the silo? Because keep in mind, these conferences work independently of each other. So you got to look at it like a business. The government can't come in here and pull these conferences out if this is what they want to do. And if the members in the conference sign off on it and okay for them to go into a silo, well, who is the government? The government reach should only go but so far. You can't just, this is what I want, and I'm going to lock y'all into this death spiral that you're in. And I think that's bad for football right there, because at the end of the day, you gotta be able to have independent where you want to go, like you say, freedom of movement, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then what do you have?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Again, I know there's a lot of people in the PATC family that wants this bill passed or close to how it's written and all that. And I respect your opinion. But again, what does this bill ultimately solve? It does not get, look, if everyone pulls their rights together according to how this bill is written, basically the other conferences would still have to negotiate with the Big Ten and the SEC. That's how Ted Cruz called it. Like, how do you, who is,
Greg, it's not solving anything.
it's not solving anything. It's a pie in the sky.
It's not solving it.
Who decides, who's going to decide who plays on ABC 3:30 Eastern time? Like, right now, who is supposed, what when a network bids on this, what are they getting? Are they getting most of the Southeastern Conference teams, Western teams? What time slot is open? Like Greg Sankey has said, you know, the people who, they don't really have a clue how complicated it is for one conference to that negotiate the media rights with potential media companies and with their own teams. I mean, it's a Rubik's Cube that is very challenging within one conference, and you want to go and do it with all the conferences, one pooling, one negotiation. It would be a mess, in my opinion.
I agree with you, Greg. I agree with you. So my thing is, let the conferences, and truth of the matter, the conferences, Big Ten, SEC, they've been doing this for decades now. I mean, running the conference. Let these conferences run college football, you know, how they want to run it, and let them. I understand what the SEC want to do. They want to build in trust into college football. You might have to go into the silo. You just have to probably go in the silo to do that. Yes, will the Big Ten follow? Yes, it'd be crazy for them not to. But somewhere in the ashes of going in the silo, on the other side, college football will be healthier for it. Because there's a lot of schools now, want to get into the P2. But at the same token, Greg, a lot of these schools did not make the necessary investment into college football until just Johnny-come-lately now. Some of them also never built their brand. You know, I touched on that the other day. You got to build your brand. You just can't you're not doing anything. You got to play somebody. You got to play the big brands to build your brand, and you got to win the games. You know, you're just going to sit here year in and year out and play cupcake games. The public is not watching cupcake games. Nobody is not going to pay money to sit here and watch this team here play this team. It's no value in that. The value is in if you're playing a big brand team and you win. Prime example, if Texas Tech was playing Texas or they were playing Michigan, something like that, people would, it's entertaining. Yeah, you might think Texas Tech would get the head knocked off, but you got to win the game. Nobody ain't going to watch Texas Tech play TCU. That I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in watching that. And to be honest, most people in the South or Southeast, we're not interested into the Big 12 football or the Pac-12 football. I'm just keeping it real. We'll watch a SEC game. We will watch a Big Ten game if it's the big brands in the Big Ten playing each other, like a Michigan or Ohio State. We'll watch that, you know. But you got to play somebody that's going to bring eyeballs to your TV. That's it.
Yep.
All right, Greg.
All right, man.
Great show.
Morris Simmons, appreciate it, sir. Beautiful call, sir. All right, Mr. Seminole, Morris Simmons. Let me show you guys something here. NILnomics at NILnomics on X. The issue: the SCC and the Big Ten schools are having a ceiling set by formula that includes programs generating less than half their revenue. An SCC only formula produces a $29.5 million cap. That's an $8 to $9 million difference per school per year. So that formula that the House settlement caused came out to be $21.5 million because you're putting in all 68 schools into that formula. If it was SCC only, it would be $29.5 million. So, if the SCC does go silo and they want to be able to go to Kessler and the House lawyers and say, we're going to go silo and we're going to have a cap, but we got to adjust it from $21.5 million. They're probably looking at a cap of $30 million for this year, football, or next year, of course, or a little bit higher. That is in the Big Ten would have been a little bit less than the SCC. Their formula came out to be a little less per school, a couple million less. The ACC was below $21.5 million, and the Big 12 was like $15.6 million per school. So if these conferences go in their silos and they have their own collective bargaining, or if they don't have a collective bargaining and they just want to go and fix their cap and use the same formula as the House formula, then the SCC is going to have a rev share of $29.5 million instead of $21.5, something to that effect. Just to keep an eye on all that. Phone lines open. Great call, Morris, once again. Stefan, Utah would be lucky to sign with a Pac-8 if they keep complaining about the Big 12. Ohio State is in a league of its own. D5 Terps. Marcus Williams, Michigan is right by the Buckeyes. Secret agent, so it's all Tech's fault. Whoops, I don't have this up here. Sorry about that. My bad. Let's see here. Gonna look for any other information. Again, our spotlight team today was the Arizona Wildcats. Arizona Wildcats team number 40 on our spotlight series. Noah Fafita, the starting quarterback. Running back, Kedrick Rascano. Trey Spivey, receiver. Chris Hunter, who's been with the program for quite a few years. He's been there for a while. Tay Brown, the linebacker, great linebacker, the heart and soul of Arizona. Had a very good secondary last year. They lost those guys. They play a lot of man-to-man. I don't know if Danny Gonzalez is going to be having Arizona play all that man-to-man this year. Going to be very interesting to watch. And, of course, Arizona's schedule starting off at Provo, Utah, later in the season, they got to play at Lubbock. Man, oh man. Throw in the fact they play at home against Utah, TCU, Kansas State on the road in Manhattan, and of course the rivalry game against Arizona State. They're going to be playing in Morgantown, Iowa State, Cincinnati. Tough schedule for the Arizona Wildcats. So they have been our spotlight team for today. We did an update on the I Do Declare. Northwestern upsets Penn State, John Grove. BYU sweep Notre Dame, Utah. Dave B. Notre Dame defeats BYU by at least 21 points. The Irishman Ryan. Clemson makes the CFP. Mama Duck, Clemson Tiger. Virginia Tech defeats Miami. Frank Pata. There are the updates for the I Do Declare competition. All right, let's see here. Trace Spivey will get exposed by his former team in November. John Grove. Thomas Moss, if the SCC goes silo, they would go into North Carolina, Virginia, and pick up all the relevant teams in their footprint. I think the SCC going in their own silo makes them more attractive. Teams want structure and money. Yep, I did see that about Virginia Tech, John Grove. I did comment earlier, they're getting a gift, a big old gift. So is Maryland. I'm going to put up on the board here. Following today's unanimous approval of the Hokie Ventures, Virginia Tech will soon announce the largest gift in university history. The donor has requested to remain anonymous to keep the focus entirely on the future of Virginia Tech athletics. Very interesting time in Blacksburg, Virginia. No question about that. Very interesting times. Thank you, John Grove. So we are going to be doing a live streaming. We're going to try. We're going to try to live stream the Senate hearings tomorrow. Hopefully people will join us. If not, I don't know. I mean, I'm just going to sit here and watch it. I will leave the studio, come back and forth. We'll just keep it on. We'll have phone calls during the live hearings, during the breaks. So join us during that. And I don't know. Look, everyone that is coming in to the Senate hearing tomorrow is basically for this bill, except for Pavakwa, the Notre Dame athletic director. He's going to be against some of the bill. Frank Potter, Virginia Tech to the Southeastern Conference, Virginia to the Big Ten. Jay Chapman, SCC Dream Scoop. North Carolina, Virginia, Florida State, Clemson, Kansas, West Virginia, North Carolina State, Virginia Tech. Rich Austin, Moen is on to something about Utah-Miami blend of the Big Ten. Moen is either on something or he's on to something, but I would guess he's on something. We shall see. We shall see. Almighty, Virginia to the Big Ten. All right, I think we'll close it up. Everybody, nobody's calling in. Nobody's calling in. The super chats have dried up. I do want to thank those who did give us a super chat today. Oh, someone just called us. Someone just called us.
From
Jose, fight on.
Jose, fight on, USC Trojan. Thanks for calling, sir. I appreciate it. The floor is yours.
How's it going, Go for Godfather? My Bluetooth went out, and I'm currently driving. Do I sound okay, or is it not coming through all right?
You've never sounded better in your life.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you, sir. So with the hearing tomorrow, if it's not seriously just a dog and pony show,
Yeah.
it seems like this originally it was about antitrust and protecting institutions, colleges, conferences from continuous lawsuits from the agents and attorneys that want to kill the golden goose. And somehow this then now has morphed into blaming the SEC and the Big Ten as becoming the scapegoats for all the issues in college football. It's kind of it's starting to smell like to me. And I don't know if it's because more hands are in the pot now, in writing and rewriting and, drafting up the bill, adding this, take out that. I know the Senate with their members might be somewhat familiar with this, but the House representatives, there's just hundreds and so many. I don't know if a lot of these, if it were to say, let's say, make it to the House of Representatives, a lot of these folks probably don't even watch college football or aren't really familiar with what's going on. And I'm thinking even if it were to get past the Senate and into the House, now you've got hundreds more hands in the pot, in the kitchen, trying to add this, take that out. And it just seems to progressively get worse and worse for the Big Ten and the SEC as this drags on. Going from the SCORE Act to the SAFE Act to now the whatever this is, the CCCP, the Cruz, Cantwell, Cody plan. It just seems like it's not getting any better. It just seems to keep getting worse with its intention.
Yeah. So what I view this bill as, this is a soft sell of the original Cody Campbell Saving College Sports. I mean, this is the Saving College Sports Act. Cody Campbell's first plan was Saving College Sports. So it's a way to get in. It's a way to do the soft sell. It's like, no, we're not going to do mandatory pulling all the rights together, but we'll make it optional until everybody finds out that doing it optional, it's not going to happen. So the bait and switch, I think they're going to probably switch it and go, well, we got to do it mandatory because optional is not going to work. And all the other stuff. I mean, the players are still going to be able to sue. I mean, what does it solve? What does it actually solve other than it eliminates, I don't know. I don't know how, I still don't know how it can pass because it's already got people on the left upset, right? Because it doesn't make employment mandatory. It gives in on the transfer portal. It gives the NCAA antitrust exemption, a narrow one, but it gives it some. And there's people that don't want to give them anything. I mean, I think it's going to die by 1,000 cuts. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But I think, and I don't know how much we're going to learn tomorrow on this. We'll see. I'm interested in watching it. Hopefully people show up and watch it with me. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to try to join depending on what my day is looking like tomorrow. Charlie Baker saying it's 50-50 doesn't seem like he's really.
He said that
willing
to the Big 12, and the Big 12 is the most in favor of it, right? So
Right.
he's telling the audience that's most in favor of it that it's 50-50. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it'll be something to watch. I mean, there's no football anyway. We'll have something to talk about. But yeah, I don't see it going anywhere. If anything, like you stated before, it's just going to create more of a divide, with relationships, and it's almost like you have to pick a side. It's become very divisive, very tribalistic. Like even beyond conferences. You think the 24 versus 16 CFP is, intense and heated online. I mean, if this bill actually were to gain any traction, I mean, holy crap, it's going to be, politics will start rearing more of its head into college sports, unfortunately. And once you get that element, kind of like politics and religion, people have already chosen their side. There's no talking, really convincing someone. You can maybe influence them if they're open-minded, but with politics and religion, people are already set in their ways, and it's just going to create more divided college football. And anger and hate is never anything, and that's never a good element to introduce into anything.
Yeah.
That's all I have to go for Godcross. Appreciate your time.
You got it, buddy. Appreciate it. Beautiful call. Beautiful call. Thank you, Jose. Fight on, USC. We got another massive super chat from a very kind Sooner Sun Devil, Cope. Beep, book, bop, bam. Sooner Sun Devil Cope for the dissenters against the legendary Big Ten and SCC programs, not named Sooners and Ohio State, etc., etc. Remember, Gophers have 7 times as many natties as the current college football playoff champion, the Indiana Hoosiers. Yeah, but my beloved Golden Gophers have not won a national championship since 1960. And in that year, the Gophers, after the regular season, like how it was every year back then, were awarded the national championship. But then the Gophers went and lost to the Washington Huskies in the bowl game. So, a lot of controversy on a couple of those national championships. Some of them were legit. But thank you, Cope. Thank you so much for the $10 holler. Thank you for your generosity. Appreciate it, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kindness. I really appreciate it. Hopefully you can join us tomorrow, Cope, and Tom DeBay and Kenneth Maynor and Frank Potter and everybody else. We'll watch the live stream together and we'll see what happens. Thanks for the show, Greg. Another great one. I got to go home. I'm out. Jay Chapman is out. Okay. So I do want to thank Larry Andrick, Evil Badger, Marcus Williams, Moen After Dark, Cope, and Cope for your generosity donation. Help us keep the lights on and grow the channel. I do want to thank Mohr, Simmons, and Jose for your phone calls. Thank you very much. This has been a live show, June 2nd. We did the Spotlight series on the Arizona Wildcats, Noah Fafita. We'll see what happens. Danny Gonzalez, a defensive coordinator. Remember the name Danny Gonzalez because he's pretty good. He's pretty good. Watch that Arizona Wildcats defense last year. Going to be very interested to see what he does this year. Buckle up, brace for impact. Until next time. From all of us at PATC to all of you, Please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much. And as always, God, family, Golden Gophers, we'll see you tomorrow. Live stream of the Senate hearings beginning at 9 Eastern time in the morning. See you then.